the last standing structure after the fire that still shows the grandeur of the original architecture. Its 2 floors and dark basement leave nothing to the tale of horrors that took place here. Nothing but memories that linger in the abandoned rooms of the asylum. Today we're going to be looking at the totem spawns of the Crotus Prenn Asylum's disturbed ward. Now, this is also known as the Shock Therapy Center. Before we get into it though, we do stream throughout the week on twitch.tv/Parklis. You can come on in, hang out, enjoy some good times, and ask any questions you might have. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, or if this is your first time watching one of these videos, every single map has a large pool of totems that could potentially spawn on the map. Whenever a trial starts, the game will randomly select 5 of these totems and place them throughout the map. The goal of this video is to help you be better informed as to the location of each potential totem, so in case you need to find the Huntress Lullaby or possibly even the Hex No One Escapes Death, you'll be better prepared when you go into the fog. Now, even though this map doesn't have as many totems as some of the other videos, I'm still going to break this one up into a couple sections to make it easier if you need to jump back and forth between potential totem locations. It's going to start with the outer ring, then it's going to move towards the inner center around the main building, and then we're going to show the main building itself. With the way that this map is structured, it's a little difficult to consider something an outer ring or an intersection, but we're going to do our best here. So without any further ado, let's look at the Shock Therapy Center of the disturbed ward in the Crotus Prenn Asylum. Alright, we're going to start this off on the outer ring of totems and with the obligatory shack. Now, this is the killer shack on the Crotus Prenn map. As you can see, it's a little bit different than some of the other shacks, as they have started updating shacks to be individualized per map. Now, one interesting thing about this shack totem spawn as opposed to the other ones is that it's going to be in the same place. It's going to be next to the pallet on that side between the pallet and the wall, but this one's a lot more open. Instead of tucked behind some of the boxes, it's just going to be kind of next to some junk in the corner, so it's not really hidden. You should be able to see this one pretty easily, so just keep an eye out. Continuing around the outside, we're going to take a look at the first of a set of standard jungle gyms that you're used to seeing around some of the maps. This is your standard jungle gym tile. What that means is in one corner is going to be a pallet. Kitty corner or diagonal from that on the opposite side of the tile is going to be a window. There are going to be several lockers, and it may or may not have a hook or a generator. Now, this totem is in a little different spot than where you maybe have seen totems on similar jungle gym tiles. This is going to be where the generator spawns, and it's going to be behind a pile of burning rubble tucked away in a little corner. So this one's a little easy to miss. Now, the next jungle gym we're going to look at is going to be the 4-lane or 3-lane, depending on how you look at it. This is most noticeable by the 4 walls that separate the outer and interior of the gym. It'll mostly have lockers. Sometimes it'll have a hook. Sometimes it'll have a generator, but there'll be a fire barrel in the middle, a pallet on one of the lanes, and a window on the other one that can either be facing the interior of the tile or facing the exterior. This totem's going to be in the same place. It's going to be on the middle lane. It's going to be next to one of the lockers. Usually it'll be on the side where the hook is, so just keep an eye out. Now, the third on the list of our jungle gym tiles is going to be the standard long wall. This, in my opinion, is probably the most powerful tile in basically the whole game as far as jungle gyms are concerned. This is most noticeable by in one side it has a pallet, and then on the opposite wall on the far side of the tile is going to have a window with a long wall. This will always have lockers. It will sometimes have a generator or a hook. This totem is in basically the same place as the standard jungle gym. It's going to be in the corner near the generator side behind a pile of flaming rubble. The next set of standard jungle gyms that we're going to see is going to be the long wall short wall tile, which is now for some reason being called the C tile, or the C gym. So this has a pallet in between two sections of wall. One is a long wall, one is a short wall. It'll always have lockers. It'll sometimes have a generator and sometimes have a hook. Now the C portion, which is on the back side of the tile opposite the generator, is actually missing part of the C. So it might be like the number 6, but the totem is going to be sectioned off in that little portion of the tile tucked away in the corner, just like on some of the other maps. All right, now the last jungle gym we're going to look at is the standard L wall T wall. This tile is noticeable by 2 windows that are diagonal from each other. One of them is in a structure that kind of looks like a T, and one of them is in a formation that kind of looks like an L. This will never have a pallet. It'll sometimes have a generator, sometimes have a hook. There'll usually be a locker around there. This totem is going to be similar to other L wall T wall tiles, where it's going to be in the middle next to the L wall side, but it's not going to be between 2 boxes. It's just going to be next to a pile of junk. Moving away from the jungle gym tiles, we are going to the first set of the outer nature tiles. This is a rock tree tile. A lot of the rock tree tiles look pretty similar with minor differences, so I'll try and describe them as best I can. This first one has a bunch of trees with 3 rocks that are in a triangle shape. The central rock is going to be the largest of them all. The other 2 are going to be butted up against some trees, and it may or may not have a pallet in between them. The totem is going to be facing the inside of the tile on the left rock, right next to the pallet. Continuing through the nature tiles, this is still technically a rock tree tile, since there is technically a rock in the tile. But this one is most noticeable by it's only trees. It's super open. And there will be 2 sets of twin trees that are directly diagonal from each other towards the interior of the tile itself. This totem is going to be nestled in between one of the 2 sets of trees, as this orientation can be flipped. But look towards the interior of the tile, as it's going to be facing away from the outside. And it's going to be, again, between one of the 2 sets of twin trees. All right, finishing up the outer totem tiles is going to be this rock tree tile. Now this one looks slightly similar to the 3 rock tree tile, except for this one's going to have about 4 or 5 rocks in it. Again, pretty spread out throughout the tile. Sometimes there'll be a generator here. Sometimes there'll be a pallet between 2 of the rocks. This one's most noted by the rocks are usually smaller. This totem is actually going to be in the center of the tile. It's going to be up against the larger rock that's going to be flanked by 2 trees, and it's going to be tucked away in the corner of one of those trees. All right, now as we move to the interior circle tiles, this is going to be one of the nature tiles. It's going to be the rock and tree tile, similar to the one on the outer ring. It's actually going to be the exact same tile. This tile and several other tiles can actually spawn towards the interior of the map. The totem's going to be in the exact same spot. It's going to be on one of the larger rocks that's directly flanked by 2 trees, and this totem is going to be tucked away in the corner where the rock and the tree meets. All right, the next nature tile we're going to look at on the interior is looking similar to one of the exterior ones. This one can also spawn on the inside. Now, by interior tiles, I mean these are going to be closest to the central building towards the asylum itself. This is going to be the 3 rock tree tile that's going to have the pallet in between 2 of the rocks. And just like on the exterior tile, this totem is going to spawn on one of the 2 rocks. That's going to be where the pallet would spawn, which are the 2 rocks that are closest to each other. And it's going to be on the left side if you're facing out of the tile, or on the right side if you're facing into the tile. The totem's going to spawn interior of the tile. All right, the next one we're going to look at is kind of a jungle gym, kind of a nature tile. It's going to be what I'm labeling the interior garden. It's going to be most noticeable by the hedges that are kind of planted in there, as well as some metal lattice work that is in archways, some nice benches, some stone slabs. It's a pretty nice place. It's going to be right up against the main building. Now this totem is going to be in the back right corner if you're facing the main building, and it's going to be tucked away between one of the benches in the corner of one of the hedges. So just keep an eye out if you happen to be passing through. Now, speaking of gardens and benches, this part is going to be the entryway to the main building itself. It's going to be always in the same place right in front of the big door. It's going to be kind of like a road slash path. It'll have hedges flanking the path as well as some benches. Now this one can be flipped, so either the totem is going to be facing the main building or facing the outer wall, but it's always going to be on the side with the pallet, and it's going to be next to the benches and one of the box slash table things. All right, now probably the second most noticeable and iconic tile is going to be this broken down greenhouse. Now there is going to be a totem here that can spawn from time to time. This is pretty obvious and hard to miss. The tile itself, it's going to be right up against the main building, and the totem is going to be on the inside of the greenhouse. It's going to be tucked away towards the middle section, near some broken pots and boxes and stuff. This one's pretty easy to see. Now, just like with the shack and the jungle gyms that we've seen already, this next tile is on many other maps as well. It is the hill. This hill will be on the interior of the map. I've never seen the hill on the exterior. If you have, maybe let me know down below and I might rework it. But the totem is going to be basically in the same place as some of the other hills. You're just going to go up the hill, and it's going to be on the right hand side behind the large pile of rocks towards the top of the hill. So just head on up there and you might go ahead and find one of the totems. Now the next tile set we're going to look at is the burnt down buildings. Now the asylum itself burnt down, and with the remake of the map, this makes it that much more apparent that some catastrophe happened. Now this tile can be in a couple different configurations, but we're going to try and show you this one here. The totem is going to be tucked away in one of the corners. You're going to notice a long wall that kind of jets out from the foundation, and tucked away behind some debris is going to be this totem. It's a little hard to find, so you might have to do some searching. All right, the next set of ruins we're going to look at is, it's actually pretty similar to the shack itself. So imagine the shack kind of got burnt down and some of the walls fell out, but this is going to be kind of a crossroads. It's going to have usually a pallet on one of the four sides in the cardinal direction. It's going to be mostly open on the interior. Sometimes there'll be a generator, but this totem is going to be in one of the back left corners, tucked away much like in the shack next to some rubble. Now the next ruin tile we're going to look at is going to be similar to the first one. It's going to kind of look like a long wall short wall ruin with some exterior walls put in. It's going to have the crossroads where it has the cardinal directions that have entryways. This one's also going to be tucked away in one of the corners, kind of next to or behind some rubble, but it's going to be actually the opposite direction of the rubble from the other one that we saw. So these are a little confusing sometimes. Now the next set of tiles we're going to look at, I'm calling the rubble tiles. It kind of just looks like a bunch of rubble with some junk all over the place. This one's a little similar to a long wall short wall. I don't know exactly how to describe this. It kind of has it'll have a generator with it. Sometimes it'll have a hook. There'll also be a place where a pallet can spawn in, like a little hallway between two of these sections. This totem, if you're facing the interior of the tile itself, is going to be on the right side of where the pallet will spawn, tucked away next to some burning rubble. So just keep an eye out if you're in the area. All right, the next interior rubble tile we're going to look at is going to be right up against the main building itself. This one's a little sparse. It's going to have, most noticeable features are going to be the two large rocks and a kind of broken down tree that next to it has a bunch of junk. This is actually where the totem's going to be, so it's going to be right up on the inside of the tile, where that junk is and the tree kind of meet, tucked away in a little notch it's made out for it. All right, now the final one of the rubble tiles is going to look similar to one of the other ones. It's going to kind of be sectioned off into a couple big clumps of rubble. In the interior of the tile is going to be two large walled sections that may or may not have a pallet in between them. Now, the interesting thing about this one is part of the wall on one of the sides is going to jet out at an angle, and there's going to be burning rubble next to it, but it's going to make this kind of L or J shaped formation with the wall and the rubble and the trees. And this totem is actually going to be tucked away in that little J shape next to one of those walls. Now we're coming up to the last part of the video. This is going to be the main building itself, the asylum. I just wanted to thank everybody who has made it this far. And if you enjoyed the video, a like would be appreciated. If you want to see more as they come out, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if I missed anything, please leave them down below in the comments. And thank you all so much for being so awesome. Now, in this main building, there aren't any totems on the first floor. The main building will have two pallets, either on the top or bottom floor. It's going to have 3 windows, one of which is always going to be closed off. There's going to be drop downs from the upper level. There's always going to be a generator in the central part of the upper level of the building. Sometimes there's going to be a chest. Sometimes there's going to be the basement. There's always going to be a bunch of lockers and a pretty neat building in general. Now, the totem, like I said, is going to be on the upper level of the building. It's going to be tucked behind one of these privacy curtains in a corner next to one of the drop downs. So thank you everybody for watching. If nobody told you, we love you guys, and stay safe out there in the fog.